Imagine a world locked in ice. Vast glaciers, miles thick, cover much of the northern hemisphere. This is the Pleistocene epoch, the last great ice age. A brutal, unforgiving time. Yet in this frozen world, a story of human survival and epic migration is about to unfold. This is the story of the first people to set foot in the Americas, a journey shrouded in mystery, lost to time, and now slowly being pieced together by modern science. For decades, we thought we knew the story. Brave hunters chasing mammoths across a land bridge from Siberia to Alaska. A quick dash through an ice-free corridor, and then a rapid spread across two vast, untouched continents. It was a simple, compelling tale. But what if that story was wrong? What if the real journey was far more complex, far more challenging, and far more incredible than we ever imagined? Let's rewind the clock about 36,000 years. A group of people in East Asia, our protagonists, begin to genetically diverge from their parent populations. They are the ancestors of all Native Americans. But they didn't immediately cross into the New World. Instead, their genetic trail seems to vanish. For thousands of years, they disappear from the archaeological and genetic record. Where did they go? The answer lies in a lost world, a land that no longer exists. This is the story of Beringia. During the peak of the Ice Age, so much of the world's water was locked up in glaciers that sea levels plummeted by as much as 400 feet. This exposed a massive landmass connecting Asia and North America, a subcontinent we call Beringia. It wasn't just a narrow bridge. It was a vast expanse, nearly 1,000 miles wide. But this wasn't a barren, icy wasteland. While massive ice sheets, the Laurentide and Cordilleran, blanketed most of North America, parts of Beringia remained ice-free. It was a refugium, a sanctuary. Genetic evidence tells us a remarkable story. The ancestors of Native Americans didn't just pass through Beringia. They stopped. They lived there for maybe 10 or even 15,000 years. This incredible pause is what scientists call the Beringian standstill. Imagine a population, perhaps just a few thousand strong, living in complete isolation for millennia. Cut off from Asia by harsh Siberian climates and blocked from the Americas by impenetrable walls of ice. For 500 generations, they were a people in waiting. But what was life like in this lost land? We used to picture Beringia as a bleak, windswept tundra. But new research is painting a very different picture. Fossil pollen, insect remains, and animal bones preserved in ancient lakebed sediments reveal a surprisingly diverse ecosystem. There were dwarf birch and willow shrubs, patches of grasses and wildflowers. It was a shrub tundra, but it was enough to support a surprising array of life. This wasn't a land of plenty, but it was survivable. These Beringians were skilled hunters. They pursued steppe bison, horse, and yes, the mighty woolly mammoth. They fished in the rivers and gathered edible plants. Their toolkit, found at sites like the Yana rhinoceros horn site in Siberia, shows they were sophisticated. They had spears, atlalas, or spear throwers, and tailored clothing made from animal hides, sewn together with bone needles. They built shelters, likely semi-subterranean dwellings lined with hides and insulated with sod, to withstand the long, dark, and brutally cold winters. It was a life lived on the edge, a constant battle against the elements. But they didn't just survive. They adapted. They developed unique cultural and genetic traits, forged in the crucible of their icy isolation. This long period of genetic bottlenecking and drift is what makes the founding populations of the Americas so distinct. Then, around 16,500 years ago, something changed. The world began to warm. The great glaciers started to melt. But this wasn't the good news you might think. As the glaciers melted, sea levels rose. Their homeland, the vast plain of Beringia, began to shrink. The rising waters slowly, relentlessly flooded the lowlands, pushing the Beringian people from the lands their ancestors had known for thousands of years. The clock was ticking. They were being squeezed between a rising ocean and the still imposing ice sheets. They had to move. But where? The old theory pointed to an ice-free corridor opening up between the two great North American ice sheets. The idea was that as the glaciers retreated, a pathway opened up, allowing people to walk south. But recent evidence has thrown a wrench in that theory. Geologists now believe that while the corridor did eventually open, it wouldn't have been viable for life until much later, around 12,600 years ago. It would have been a sterile, desolate landscape of gravel and meltwater, with no plants or animals to sustain migrating people. Yet we have archaeological sites in South America, like Monteverde in Chile, that are securely dated to at least 14,500 years ago, maybe even earlier. This creates a paradox. How did people get to South America thousands of years before the inland route was even open? The answer seems to lie with the coast. As the Cordilleran ice sheet pulled back from the Pacific coastline, it created a new potential pathway, the coastal route. This wouldn't have been an easy walk down the beach. It would have been a rugged, challenging environment of fjords, islands, and glaciers, calving directly into the sea. But for a people adapted to a maritime or near-coastal lifestyle in Beringia, it was possible. They could have traveled in small watercraft, perhaps something like an umiak or kayak, hopping from island to island, exploiting the rich marine resources along the way. This kelp highway would have been teeming with life. Seals, sea otters, seabirds, fish, and shellfish. It was a linear buffet, a refrigerated pantry stretching all the way down the coast. This theory explains how people could have bypassed the ice sheets and moved south so rapidly. Once they reached the mouth of the Columbia River or other major river systems, they would have had access to the interior of the continent. From there, they spread with astonishing speed across two continents. Within just 1,000 or 2,000 years, their descendants had reached the very tip of South America, Tierra del Fuego. It was one of the most rapid and successful dispersal events in human history. They adapted to every conceivable environment, from the deserts of the Southwest to the rainforests of the Amazon, from the high Andes to the Great Plains. But mysteries remain. The coastal route is a compelling theory, but direct archaeological proof is incredibly difficult to find. Why? Because the coastline they would have traveled along is now under hundreds of feet of water. Any campsites, any tools, any remains of their journey are lost to the sea. We are left with tantalizing clues. A 14,000-year-old footprint in British Columbia. Ancient stone tools dredged up by fishing boats. Scientists are now using submarines and sonar to search for these submerged sites, hunting for the holy grail of American archaeology. Furthermore, the genetic picture is getting more complex. While the vast majority of Native Americans descend from that single Beringian standstill population, some studies hint at other, smaller migrations. Perhaps there were multiple pulses of migration along the coast. Or maybe another mysterious group, known only as Population Y, contributed genes to some Amazonian populations. And what about the very earliest sites, like the Sharuti Mastodon site in California, which controversially suggests a human presence 130,000 years ago? These outliers challenge our timeline and force us to ask even deeper questions. The story of the first Americans is not a finished chapter. It's a dynamic, evolving narrative, constantly being rewritten by new discoveries. It's a testament to human resilience, our incredible ability to adapt and explore in the face of overwhelming odds. From a small group of people who weathered the Ice Age in a lost land, to the diverse nations and cultures that flourished across two continents, it is a truly epic journey. A journey that began in ice, was defined by water, and continues to captivate our imagination today. The search for answers continues on the seafloor, in our DNA, and in the ancient whispers carried on the wind. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into our incredible past.